Hi. Sorry. Good afternoon. Welcome to the Equality Tech Roadmap. We're starting a little late here. I was waiting for somebody, but I think we're just going to get started. So thank you all for having me today. It's an incredible honor to be here in front of you all, sharing my story and talking about equality tech. We have a lot to get through today, so I'm going to jump right in. We only have 20 minutes, and I'm going to try and pull out of a lot in this conversation. So I'll show you real quick. This is the roadmap for our conversation. So I'm going to tell my story first. That'll take about 3 to 5 minutes. I'm going to tell you about a little bit about my new company, Translator. And then we're going to really dig into the equality tech methodology that we're using to build products in the diversity and inclusion space. And then we're actually going to run an interactive workshop, which is highly risky. And I'm hoping this works out great. But we're going to be doing some real live demos. You all be playing along with your cell phones. So it'll be fun. And if we have time, we'll do some Q&A at the end. But it's very likely we're not going to have time because I'm going to try and jam on a lot here. So I'm going to start off with my story. So this is me at Dreamforce. Thank you so much. This is me at Dreamforce just 3 years ago. And I was kind of a regular here at Dreamforce. And here is my first picture after we closed our Series A funding back in 2004. Closed $3.5 million to take a little company that I started in my basement to scale it up to about 50 employees and a global customer base. Here I am with my first of my 3 children, my oldest. He's now 11. Here I am with my freshman year in college sweetheart, my best friend, who I married. This is right after our engagement in front of the Philadelphia Art Museum. This is me in college. It's me with the going a little crazy there. Here I am in high school, total lax bro. And here I am as a little kid, 8 years old. Now I share all these pictures with you because there's a much longer story here that I can't get into. But a lot of it has to do with the fact that I just want people to see how much I used to fit in here at Dreamforce, right? And especially, 3-4 years ago when the equality movement at Dreamforce wasn't quite underway. But you can imagine the surprise of my family and my wife and my kids and everyone around me, my investors, the infrastructure and the community of people that were, really quite surprised when I came out as a transgender woman. And there was truly a lot of expectations built around this persona of Nathan. And it's obviously quite challenging. And there's a lot of pain and a lot of stories here that I didn't highlight because we don't have quite enough time. But it was really hard for the people around me to kind of process and handle my transition. It was very hard for me as well, right? And as much as I braced for what the world would bring to me, the judgment, the looks, the conversations, the potential for violence, I prepared for that, and I still prepare for that every single morning when I go out, when I leave my apartment. I have to really put on my armor. But what I could have never prepared for is how much the experience of coming out as a trans woman changed me to the core. Truly, truly changed me inside. And the only way that I can describe this is that I experienced bias, discrimination, and hatred for the first time in my life as a cognitive 39-year-old, after spending my life as a white man with access and privilege and resources. And the irony is that I thought that I understood empathy, and I thought that I had an appreciation for diversity, and I thought that I did all the right things. And the truth is that I had no idea how hard the world can be to people just for being themselves. I had never had to think about my identity, ever. I literally had no problems walking around. I never had to think about who I am. If you had asked me to define the word identity, I would have looked at you cross-eyed and thought, like, you must be talking about fingerprints and cybersecurity. So for me, coming out as a trans woman and experiencing what the world brought to me, and there's a lot of great stories here that I'm skipping over, but as a technologist and an entrepreneur, I became obsessed with the problem of inequality. And I've dedicated the rest of my life and my privilege and my experience to building a company that is designed to spread empathy and equality, very much sort of like what the joke at Translators that we're creating an equality virus. So that's a little bit of my story. There's a lot more to it. But I want to talk about Translator and our company mission, right? So I just mentioned that we're on a mission to spread empathy and equality by building innovative tech-based diversity and inclusion products for businesses, schools, and government organizations and nonprofits of all sizes across the country and across the world. So that's our mission at Translator. And I'm going to tell you how we're doing that in a few slides. But this is core to who we are and what we do. Here's our vision. And I talk about our vision, I say we have double vision, right? And our double vision is straightforward, right? The first part is that the future of diversity and inclusion is data-driven, highly scalable, deeply integrated, easily measurable, and most importantly, fun and effective. The second part of our vision is my favorite part, and this is where we align with Salesforce so well. The company vision is equality for all, right? And I'm not talking about equal resources for all. I'm talking about equality for all, that we treat each other and we understand that we are all just humans, right? And there's actually no difference between us. In fact, everyone here in this audience and at this, this incredible convention are more similar than we are different. And that's what we're out to do, is use technology to help us understand that we're all just humans. So that's a little bit about our company vision. I want to now get into the methodology, the quality tech methodology, which I lay out there and I'll answer questions for. I want people to innovate in this space. If I could make this open source, I would. But the methodology is very straightforward, and you can use this yourself if you're looking to innovate in the space. So what we're doing is we're leveraging decades of proven research and best-in-class subject matter experts to study and productize diversity and inclusion workflow. And that's the key sentence right there. We're studying the space and we're productizing diversity and inclusion where there has been no innovation for the last 25 years at all. The last innovation in diversity and inclusion was learning management software, LMS, right? The most recent innovations in diversity are chief diversity officers and employee resource groups, which are not scalable and not measurable and not necessarily fun. So this is what we're doing, is we're studying workflow, and workflow is anything and everything from a point of origin to a desired outcome. So A to B, right? And there's workflow all over diversity and inclusion that nobody has done anything with. An example of workflow for D&I would be somebody raising their hand because they have a question. They have a question, they need to raise their hand, they need to be called on, they need to have the courage to say what they need to say, and then they need to answer it. And that workflow does not always work out, right? In fact, it fails most of the time. So it's really simple. We're just looking at things. We're working with ERG groups. We're working with diversity recruiters. We're working with all kinds of people in the organization to understand what they're looking for from D&I, and then we're simply productizing it by hitting the lowest hanging fruit first. And I'm going to show you our first product that we developed, very much kind of MVP product. But here's where you can play along. So I want us to ask you this question first before we go into the product. How many people in here, by show of hands, have been to a diversity and inclusion training? Okay, fair amount, actually, good, okay. So what do you all think of diversity and inclusion trainings? Okay, I can tell by your face. What else? Got it. Well, generally, they're actually not well received. People think they're boring, they're not helpful, they're a waste of time. There are some good ones for sure. But the large majority, there's a stigma associated with diversity and inclusion training that's quite negative. And so we're looking to really kind of change all of that. And what we've done is we've launched what we call modern tech-enabled diversity and inclusion training. And it's basically an app that you get to use in the training itself. Right? So everybody's going to get to use this here in a second. So basically, we're reinventing and reimagining diversity and inclusion training. We're making it narrative, story-driven, theater-style, entertainment. We've created a templated digital framework that sits over top of any curriculum. and we're giving the people the tools, the language, and the metrics to actually make change. So that's a little bit about this first product. It's the lowest hanging fruit. It was the first thing that we could automate as we studied the space. And the long-term vision for diversity and inclusion is obviously all in your mobile phone. It's not once a year in a training. It's a one-stop shop, almost like a workout app, but for empathy development. So this is the first MVP product or feature that eventually rolls into that app. So this is our competition. Right, so I don't know if you've been in your diversity and inclusion trainings. They rely on exercises on paper. They rely on people sticking post-it notes on the wall with the agreement that they agree to. If you've ever seen the Walk of Privilege, it's step forward if both your parents went to college, or step forward if you think the police will protect you if you're in trouble. So all of these exercises are exceptionally valuable in a diversity and inclusion training. They're actually necessary, but they're full of flaws. Right? They otherize people. They're perishable. There's no way to measure them. You can't see what people, and they rely on people volunteering, right? So this is what I challenged my product team with. I said, this is our competition. And by the way, this product really actually works pretty damn well. So let's not build technology for technology's sake, right? So the real challenge for them was, how do we take these exercises that are happening in classrooms and put them in a value-added way into our mobile phones? So this is our first exercise we created. It's called the mask. It's designed to help you understand your own privilege, and designed to help you understand stereotypes. So this is how this works. I'm going to immerse you all very quickly into a training. Sorry, before we go there. Go to demo.translator.media on your phones. This is you don't need to log in. Feel free to use incognito mode. It's really just a scratch pad. And everything you share is 100% anonymous, and we're going to permanently de-identify it, but we're going to share it back with the room so we don't rely on people having to share their stories. And lastly, these activities are for your self-reflection and growth. This is as if we were doing a training. So if everybody go to demo.translator.media, there should be a waiting, a screen that looks just like that on your right. So now I'm going to fast forward you into the training. So this is from a standard training that we do. We follow the 3 pillars of empathy. This is the basic framework for developing empathy. You learn self-awareness, and then you learn context and strategies for diverse and new individuals, and then interaction application. And a good program will cycle you through these continuously. So we're focused on self-awareness, and we're brought up the concept of your own identity. So again, for me, I had never thought about my own identity. Some people think about their identity every day. So we talk about our own identities, and then we switch to talk about our identities in the context of our communities. So now that we have a better understanding of ourselves, we now think about how the world views our identity, right? And that brings up the topic of stereotypes. So as a facilitator in the room, I'm now able to share a story about stereotypes. I will lead with a story on stereotypes. And now we're going to do an exercise where everybody is going to do this, is going to participate. So if you go to demo.translator.media, I'm now going to show you what this exercise looks like. So this is the facilitator's dashboard. So in a diversity and inclusion training, this is still up on the screen behind you, or behind me, in front of you. And these are all exercises that we could execute during the training. Right? So they're woven into the curriculum at strategic times to match the content. So the exercise we're going to do is called the stereotype mask, and everybody's phone should have just updated. So what you do here is you would write on one side of the mask words that describe how you've been stereotyped. Right? Now I can start to see how many people are participating, right? So I might not, as a facilitator, I might not move the exercise forward until I know I have enough responses. But you hit the plus button to add them. Words that I would put here are words like threat. And that's where someone I wouldn't have normally had to raise my hand and say that in a room. People say, well, you're not a threat, I'm a threat, right? I look different than you, I'm a more traditionally threatening person. But the reality is people pull their children away from me when I walk into an ice cream store. Right? I'm a threat to their binary existence. Right? People also think I'm a pervert. People think I'm sick. These are stereotypes that people put onto me. Right? So those are words that I would put up here. And then we'd flip the screen, and now everybody puts in the words that describe their authentic self. If they only knew me, they would not judge me. They would know that I am actually gentle and silly and loving. Right? So if everybody could add some words here, that would be great. And then as a facilitator, I can now decide to end the session and say, view the results. right? And you see the beginnings of the word cloud here that starts to show by size the frequency of words in the room. So we did this just a few weeks ago with 200 people in the room, and in less than 4 minutes, we had 1,200 words captured, right? That data is incredibly valuable to management, but it made a real impact on the audience, right? One of the people in the room raised their hand and was like, I thought I knew everyone in this room. I've been working with them for years, and I had no idea how differently we all see each other. So it really changes the individual learning dynamic and the group learning dynamic, and it gives management reams of data that they've never had access to about a training. So this is the training data from a typical session, right? I mean, there's like, we haven't put it into pretty charts yet, but you can see here there's a lot of data, and no one's ever had any data coming out of a D&I session. So this is the type of stuff that we're working on. I'm going to do one more quick demo for you. This product is what we call tech-enabled training. I'm now going to show you our newest product that we just launched. It is called, well, actually, before I even show it to you, I'm going to ask this question, right? So how much money are difficult conversations costing your business every year? It's one of my favorite questions. A lot of money. Millions and millions of dollars, right? Even a small business, right? Hundreds of thousands of dollars. Difficult conversations lead to disengaged employees, employee turnover, and all kinds of problems for recruiting, okay? Because the word gets around. So we've developed a product that is designed to guide people through difficult conversations in real time at work. So it's on-demand, anonymous chatbot support for managing difficult conversations in the workplace. It's currently only integrated into Slack, but we're launching into Salesforce in the next 2 months with a whole roadmap of integrations after that. It's human and AI powered, right? It's humans and robots together, so it's best of both worlds. It's a voluntary employee benefit. No one has to use it. And it's designed to give employees the tools and language to be able to manage these conversations themselves. So I'm going to show you quickly a demo, and I'm actually doing okay on time. This is kind of fun. So this is a real environment right now. So this is a previous conversation that we were having as part of the testing as I got ready for this. But I can now have a conversation totally anonymously. Oh, actually, you know what? Before I even show that, because I have a second, here's the onboarding. So there's an email that goes out to all the employees, letting them know about Translator. Very, very simple. And then they access it as a direct message through Slack. Right? So I just wanted to show people that workflow. So now here, I've experienced something awkward today. Maybe somebody comes in every day is, kind of, they're not sexually harassing me, but the way they talk and their language and the way they present themselves is very, off-putting. And I want to talk to them about it. Like, that's the type of conversation I can have in here. So we're a little low on time, but I wanted to get a real subject from somebody in the audience. We can talk about anything. No subjects are off limits. If it's distracting you from work, we'll work on it. If it has to do with violence or things like that, we have a workflow and a protocol for it. So I want to answer those questions right this moment. But does anybody got anything live? Otherwise, I'm just going to throw in something. Anything from the audience? Nobody's got a real difficult conversation that's happening? I find that hard to believe. Okay, so I'm actually going to write something here. So I'm going to say, hi, translator. I am having a problem with a coworker. So, translator should be writing back to me. Translator, write back. Good, translator's writing back, thank God. And let's see. So they're thanking me for reaching out. They're following frameworks and protocols that we've set up by studying basically coaching best practices. Looks like they're still typing back. So we don't give legal advice. We don't give we give frameworks, right? So we help people we hear them, we affirm, we then brainstorm with them to come up with ideas of ways to talk to the individual themselves or potentially prepare to talk to HR, right? So you don't show up to HR sounding like a blabbering idiot. We're going to give you the tools and language to be able to show up most powerfully. It looked like translator was typing back there for a second, but we are out of time, technically, officially. I'm going to like push the limit for a second. Can I do like one question from the audience? Okay, cool. So any questions from the audience? And thank you, by the way, for the opportunity to present today. Hi.
For certain situations that might arise out of the chatbot, do you delegate to third-party vendors in cases of things like intimate partner violence or other matters that might need a psychosocial component?
Yeah, so right now, this is all very early. It's very new. We're innovating a space that totally hasn't seen anything like this. So what we're doing is everything is very careful and kind of crawl, walk, run. And we work very closely with each client right now to come up with a workflow that's specific for them for certain situations. But for example, we've built a whistleblower type of function in here. So if somebody is being harassed, you can give their name and stay anonymous. And if multiple people tag that individual, that rule will then send that individual to HR, but all of the employees are completely protected from that. So that's a workflow that we'll design with each client. And then we integrate it with HR systems as well. Hi. Totally, yeah, absolutely. I mean, culture and best practices are going to be unique to each organization, so that's all natively built into this. And we are developing this with our clients. So if they ask us for this integration or that capability, all that's going right into our product roadmap. So, any other questions from the audience? If not, thank you all so much for coming. A really incredible opportunity to present today. Thank you, Salesforce, for letting me use the platform to spread equality for all. Thank you.